joining us tonight in our continuation of our STEMXX Chats 2020 events. So tonight we're going to be talking about motherhood in the STEM industries. So here we have three wonderful panelists from a range of different science backgrounds. So we have Mrs. Esconda, who is a VP at Clorox. We have Victoria Guerrero, who is a math professor, but has background in, she's both a chemical and a computer science engineer. And we have Maria Luisa, who is a dentist. So thank you all for joining me tonight. So first I wanted to get started and first kind of introduce STEMXX Chats to you guys before, to kind of give you background of why we're doing these events. So STEMXX Chats started with this idea of being able to help young women in STEM, starting from high school age all the way to graduate students. So we not only host these events, but we're also able to have cohorts of young girls in different stages of their careers and aid them in things ranging from professional development to mentoring and all things that are necessary, especially as some of you may know that, it's hard to see women in the sciences. And I'm sure as you guys have progressed in your careers, even in when you were studying for your fields, I'm sure that there were a lot of times where there weren't a lot of women around. So with that, I would offer you guys the opportunity to kind of introduce yourselves and give a little bit of a background of kind of what interested you in getting involved in science and how that kind of led to where you are today. So if Diana, you want to start?
Sure. How much time do we have? 1 minute, 5 minutes?
As long as you, as much as you want to say.
Well, my name is Diana, and I have been working in science for more than 20 years, so basically my whole life. If you wonder how I started, I decided to study chemical engineer. That was back in Venezuela. And Venezuela, as you know, is one of the main oil producers in the world. So if you are born there and you grow up there, you basically see refineries all over you. And I always saw that, and I grew up thinking that I was going to work there. And decided to be studying chemistry and chemical engineer, and I love it. I never thought too much. I always say this to my kids, don't think too much. What are you going to do in the future, of if that career is going to be successful or not? Just make sure that you are studying something that you like and that you're good at. And usually those two things, by the way, always go together. You are good at what you like and you like what you are good at. So I just studied chemical engineer, and then I started working in the CPG company in Procter & Gamble at that time in Venezuela. Then I moved to Cincinnati. In Cincinnati, I kept working. I moved to Europe. I moved to China. I have been around. And then in China, I lived 1 year in Beijing, 5 years in Shanghai. I moved to Coca-Cola company, also working in science. So in Procter & Gamble, I was working in developing of new products, new technologies, and new science. And in Coca-Cola, I was working in new technologies for production of beverages. And after 5 years in Coca-Cola in Shanghai, I moved to California, working for the Clorox company, as you know, obviously working on the science behind the innovation. So that's what I do. I do innovation for consumer products. And I'm now living in Virginia, in the East Coast, still working for the Clorox company, but remote. And I have 4 kids. I had 3 kids in 4 years, and then I wait a little bit, and then I had another one. So I have 3 grown-ups, that are in college. One of them was already graduated, and I still have a 9-year-old one, which is my toy. So that's basically me.
That's great. Victoria, do you want to go next?
Hi, my name is Victoria Guerrero. I'm from South America, and I study, math and physics and biology. That's kind of my basic courses, and I loved it since I was maybe like 12 years old. I was a little bit out of the group because not all the girls like math and science. So I kind of become part of the boys group and I take those courses. Eventually I moved to the United States. I got my master's degree like 30 years ago. And I work in one of the areas that I like the least, which was programming. And that's my worst grade, and I end up doing that for a living. So I worked for the private industry for a while, and eventually when I have my second kid, I decided that I need a more more flexible schedule. So I moved part-time to become a professor, and being a professor of math since then. But luckily for me, I've been supporting all the sciences, because my students not only take math courses, but they take chemistry and biology and physics. And any science that they take, I will tutor them and help them and support them and advise them. So it has been a very interesting field, because I have become like the mom of hundreds of kids. So I have 2 kids at home and hundreds of kids at college, trying to help them out and find their ways to success, not necessarily in a career, but in how to survive outside in the world, which is, I think, is being harder as time goes by for the new generations. It's more competitive, it's harder, it's different than when I started. So here I am trying to make a difference in these kids' lives, which I truly love.
That's great. Maria Luisa? You're muted.
Hi, my name is Maria Luisa, and I am originally from Mexico. I'm a pediatric dentist, and I studied dentistry in Mexico, and then I came to the United States to do my specialty training in pediatric dentistry at Boston. And I have to agree a little bit with Diana about not thinking too much about how you get to where you get, but doing something, finding something that you're passionate and that you love, and that you're good at. I totally agree with what she said, because I loved working with my hands, and I always loved children. So it kind of one thing led to the other, and I became a pediatric dentist. When I came here, in order to revalidate my profession, I had to go back to school and do the last 2 years of dental school, which is that's what you do in medicine. And when I was doing that, I already had my first kid. I have 4 children as well. And so I never worked full time, because I graduated with a kid on my lap. But I always loved it and enjoyed it, and realized that maybe one day the kids needed me more than my profession, but the profession gave me the flexibility to stay in there, because in dentistry you can make your own hours, and you can, which is very helpful when you're a mom too. And so now I've been in practice for more than 20 years, and I still work part-time, even though 3 of my 4 kids are in college. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And as professor of mathematics was saying as well, all these patients of mine are like my children, and I try to make a difference not just on their smiles, but in general. I like to know where they're at, and the good thing about pediatric dentistry is that you see them every 6 months when they come to their clinic, and you see them grow up, and you see them become the people that they are. And I do have to say that I am amazed with the young moms these days. They do a really good job with their children, and that's me.
That's great. I heard some of you mention that there are some challenges when balancing having kids as well as working. You mentioned both of you mentioned working part-time. So what are some specific challenges that you faced early on that now you look back and realize this is what I should have told myself back then? Or I know some things that people should consider when they're thinking of having kids while they're still early in their careers.
A lot of people ask me that, as a vice president in corporate America, that's what people think is no, not the most popular thing, I would say. Um, just do what you want, and put yourself in. My husband always says, "Put yourself in God's hands." So I don't know if that works or not, but same that my whole life I wanted to graduate from chemical engineer. I want to work. I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that, and I worked hard for doing that. I also wanted to have kids, so I had 4 kids. To the point that when I got transferred from Cincinnati to China, I had already accepted to move to China, and in that process, I got pregnant. And for a moment, I thought, "Oh my gosh, now how do I move to China now, being pregnant?" And again, my husband said, put yourself in God's hands. And people in China have kids. Don't worry. So don't worry. I would say don't worry. In whatever, I don't know the audience, so I don't know whatever you believe, but just don't worry so much, and do what you think is the right thing, and drive for that. I think that we tend to worry and complain sometimes too much, and it says, just embrace what life gives you. So I moved to China being pregnant. I was already like 4 months pregnant, in Beijing, and I had to move. I traveled to Hong Kong to deliver the baby, because you deliver babies there easily. But don't be afraid. I would say don't be afraid. And it's the same for having a baby as it is for accepting a new job. Some people think, "Oh, maybe I'm not prepared to do that." Or to go to study your PhD, if you want to study your PhD. People say, "Well, maybe I'm not getting accepted. Maybe that's going to be too difficult for me." Don't be afraid. I would say don't be afraid. Do it, embrace, make sure that you plan for it, that that you don't get crazy in the process. And you have your husband or somebody to help you, or you'll dedicate, as Maria and Victoria saying, maybe it's part-time, maybe it's full-time, depending on your situation, may be different. But don't be afraid, and embrace it and do it. Be brave. So that at least has worked for me.
I will, if I have to say something about the past and new moms, is get a support. You need a good partner. So I'm quite sure that most of us, being in the field of science and so forth, we are very picky when it comes to our partners. So pick a good partner, because you will need a support if you're gonna want to have a family. The second thing is surround by good people, because when you have kids and you need to run places or to do things, your neighbor, a friend, a family member always come handy to help you out. So get good relationships. Make those connections with the people around you. Don't feel isolated. Connect. They help you a lot with your kids, and you can share things with other moms. Nowadays, you have those blogs and forums and chats. There's so much support now. So don't feel that you are by yourself. Worst case scenario, call your mom and ask her, how do I solve this problem, mom? I'm sure you went through this. Help me out. Very wise women. And just get surrounded by good people. And that makes your life easier with your kids. If your husband supports you, your partner supports you, it's even better. So that's my advice. Find a good, solid relationships around. It might be even a nanny, which are extremely helpful. Find the right person that will help you out with your kids.
Yeah, I agree with both Diana and Victoria. Sometimes I would struggle when I had a sick kid and I had to go to work, and thankfully I had help, but you think you're indispensable. So again, put things in the hands of God, and your kid is going to be fine if somebody that you trust is taking care of, if you're surrounded by people that care for you, or your husband, your, I don't know, friends, that can give you a hand. Take that hand. And also, on the other hand, if you don't, I was like, how am I going to cancel this patient or this other? They're not going to want to come. And realize that people understand and people are forgiving. So don't worry too much. Put yourself, like Diana said, trust God and ask. I often would ask, what should I do? And then what would come to my mind, I would just follow it and don't look back. So if it was leave my kid, he's going to be fine, he's with my mom, or he's with, you know, the babysitter, whatever, and go to work and don't think about it, I would come back and, you know, my children were okay. Or the other way around, if you need to call in and say, I'm going to be late, I need to reschedule this patient or this other, it's fine too. It's fine. You're doing the best you can, and it's not worth worrying. Put yourself in that, in the hands of God, and try to do the best you can. Have good
And
intentions.
I could add to that, you know, when I was a new hire in Procter & Gamble, I was super young and I already had my first kid. I always had a nanny, to the point that sometimes several years in my life, I had two nannies and my whole salary was going to pay the nannies. So that I would say that sometimes you need to invest on your future. You know, unfortunately, I didn't have the luxury, I would say, of working part-time. That was not an option for me. I was the only income in my house, and I couldn't do that because I would have done that probably. I think that it would have been great to have more time with my kids, but I couldn't do that. So I decided to invest in having the right support. And my family was, I mean, I was in Venezuela, my family was in Spain. So my family was very, very far away. So I had the obviously friends, but I had to have somebody in addition to my husband to help and do all the things I couldn't do, you know, the cleaning and cooking and the kids, they were with me, but when possible. But I always invested on having good support. So I think that having good support is very important, if, especially when depending, you know, depending on your situation, if you can work part-time, maybe you need a little bit less, but in my case, I had to travel a lot, I had to work a lot, so I always had a lot of support. So the time that I was at home, I could really be with my kids and be there present with them, and not with my iPhone checking this message or the other message. I think that that's also important. You know, make sure that you are there, not working.
Quality.
Yeah, I think definitely quality time is really important. What are some ways then that some things that you guys did to foster that quality time when you had that opportunity? Or were there opportunities out outside of, did you feel like you had to kind of make those opportunities for quality time because of like having to work often, or did the jobs that you've chosen lend themselves to um, that kind of opportunities?
I need to say that I think that both quality and quantity are important. And I want to make that disclaimer because a lot of people say, oh, it's about quality, not about the quantity of time. I personally, I would have loved to have more time with my kids. I couldn't, fine. I mean, I don't regret it. I don't think it was a big deal. But I think both are important. I didn't plan anything important, special with my kids. You know, it's again what Maria is saying, that don't overthink it. You know, just be with them, be present, be with them, take their hand and walk around the neighborhood if you can do that, right? But don't take your phone. You know, just be with them and talk with them. So at least that's what I did. I don't remember to have planned any particular, you know, like a special time or anything like that.
Yes, yeah.
Do you feel that there is pressures from your coworkers, or you're treated differently as a working mom compared to others? Do you think that's been positive or kind of negative thing you've had to deal with?
I personally don't feel pressure. I think now when most of the working places, they are very supportive of women and very supportive of parent and motherhood. And sometimes I did feel pressure, or that the people would ask me questions like, oh, 4 kids, and oh my, are you gonna have another one, and this, and so things like that. You do face that, but as time goes by, then people realize what a gift what a gift it is, and I think you end up being a good example to the people around that you work with. And Yeah.
In my field, I think we always had challenges with our environment that I worked on. Usually engineering is a very male-dominated environment.
Mm.
So sometimes it's hard to, it takes time for them to realize that you are a hard-working professional as they are. So it has, usually the beginning is hard, and as time goes by, they see you work hard, you come early, you leave late, you're supporting the other groups, the other teams. So eventually you become part of the team. But at the beginning, it's usually tricky for the certain fields, male-dominated fields. But I see lately nowadays that more women are studying engineering or other sciences. More women are manage their own businesses. They create their own businesses. So I think it's easier now for women to have their own place in society, you know, to become successful.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that my kids will also have the same, a different approach towards competition. Is we are professional, you work hard, you know what you want, just go for it. Don't get afraid because of what other people think or other people are giving you a hard time. Just work hard and you come up. I mean, that's the only thing you want to do. You like it, you work hard, you go for it. Women, men, doesn't make any difference. Just stick with what you like, what you want.
And I have two comments on that. One is I think that I didn't have any better training to become a manager in science than having 4 kids. I had 3 kids in 4 years. And actually, when I came back from my 3rd maternity, 6 months later, I was promoted to department manager. And yeah, I'm not gonna deny that some people around me like, you know, what was she doing? She spent 3 years on maternity, whatever. I need to say that I didn't have better training. You know, when you know how to deal with so many things at the same time, 3 kids, 3 totally different personalities, 3 ages, you know, so many details. That gives you an experience and enable you to put things into perspective. You learn how to reframe problems. People now make such a big deal about everything. People need to learn how to step back and reframe your problem and look at your problem from a different angle. And trust me, you will see that it's not that difficult. What I was saying, you know, when I got pregnant the 4th time, I was, oh my gosh, I'm moving to China and I'm pregnant. And what my husband did was that reframing, you know, said, put yourself in God's hands. Don't worry, you know, people have kids in China. And I was, oh yeah, that's true. So don't make anything too complicated. The other comment that I do have, I realized that I was a woman with 4 kids, Latina, and a little bit crazy when I became 50 years old. I need to say that I have never ever felt in my life discriminated or put into a side or anything for being a woman, for having too many kids or not enough kids or being Latina. I don't know. I never pay attention to that. Who knows? Maybe I was and I didn't realize. But I never pay attention to that. And I think that that's what is important. Don't pay attention to that. Just keep, you know, what Victoria is saying. You say, some people call me Dory. Keep swimming, keep swimming, keep swimming. You know, keep going. And things will go to the right place, you know. Life is an endurance sport, you know, so you need to continue doing it with passion. Make sure that you are doing it for the right reasons. Make sure that you pay attention to the people around you and put yourself, you know, to the service of others. I think that nothing is more important than that. So yes, I'm a manager, but I'm a manager because I like to help other people, and I'm doing this today because I would love if you know, if our experience can be helpful for people. You know.
That was great advice. I've been hearing a lot of themes of resilience, kind of just keep going and hard work. Are there any specific traits or habits that young women can now start to think about so that someday they'll be able to kind of be able to manage working as well as raising a family? Anything you guys can think of specifically?
I think that what is important, Claire, also is that we haven't mentioned, and probably it's good, what I think that we have not done. Because I think that everybody today, for example, experiences that, yes, we have done our careers and our work and having kids, but there are a lot of things that we haven't done. And I'm sure that that's very common among us. You ask me for the latest TV show, I have no idea. You know, I don't waste my time on that. Um, um, so there are a lot of things that we don't do, you know, and I think that that's also important. It's about priorities, right? So what's important for you, and what, how do you invest your time? Because the time is limited, and you know, days are short, and make sure that you don't waste time, you know, again, you know, checking Facebook and social media. And I mean, once in a while it's okay, but too much is too much.
Oh. Well, I think a habit that has been very valuable for me, and Victoria had mentioned it, about relationships, surrounding yourself with people, always making time to foster good quality relationships, to make friends, to have and to transmit that to your children as well. And because when you live in community, there's it just life becomes so much more easier and fruitful. Yeah.
I think nowadays everybody's talking about, I don't have a Facebook account to
Mhm.
begin with. I might be old fashioned. I hear about all this Instagram and Twitter. I have no idea how to get there. I'm a science person and I am not interested in those things. So that tells you that my life is somewhere else. But it's okay for the kids. The younger generations were born with the phones in their hands and with the Twitters and the Facebook and so forth. But I think that they have to be. I will give some advice based on experiences that, guys, please do your social interactions personally. This digital world is not helping you guys get to know people, to read people, to help people. You are missing how people react, how people feel. And sadly, virtual communication is not what makes us human. So maybe that's why you see us little, as you ladies having 4 kids, as a big family, because they do it in person, their life. They're not texting friends, or their kids are sharing they're having a good example as a mom, being with them, sharing time with them. Nowadays, everything is texting, virtual, Twitter, Facebook. I don't think that's healthy. So I would strongly advise to the youth that are listening to us, sometimes share time in person with your friends. Learn how to communicate. Learn how to read the cues on their faces, how they feel, what they truly are saying when they are talking to you. The tone of the voice, the faces they make, those are very important cues to socialize. As you grow in your career, those cues are very important to be successful. You need to know how to deal with people. And that would be my advice if you guys are asking me something based on my experience. And I know your social life is on the phone, but sometimes you need that human contact. So that's one of the major things. If I want to say anything on this meeting, I thank you, Claire, for inviting us, is to share youth. That is my major concern. Youth is getting socially, I don't know, inadequate or not learning enough for contacting with other youth, because you are the future of you are the next generation. You guys are going to become the future vice presidents, secretaries of department. So just make sure you socialize in person. That's very, very important. Connect with people live, not virtual. And that would be it for me.
That is a great point, and I'm sure a lot of people have been missing that human connection. It's the pandemic lately, so we haven't had an opportunity to connect. But yeah, I'm excited to see my friends and actually communicate with them. And I do feel that networking is best done definitely in person. So we have a couple of questions from our audience. So I thought I'll pose these to you guys. Okay. The first question is, are there any ways you feel that managing a family has helped you in professional life? So I know, Diana, you mentioned this a little bit about how it's helped you manage just being a manager in general. Are there any other ways that managing a family has helped you? And everyone else can also.
I could talk for hours, actually. My kids were born in the US, so they speak perfect English. So a lot of times now they are grown up, so I'm writing a note and I want to make sure that it's well written. I would ask them, hey, can you read this paragraph just to make sure that it's fine? So I ask them for advice. I'm 50 years old, they are 20 or 9. So I ask them, if I say this, what do you think? What do you imagine? And they will give me the perspective from a much younger audience, or from a very different background experiences that they have had. I think it's amazing to have, I have 4 consultants in my house. You know, it's like, and married, you know, I have 4 consultants for my office, and I have my admin, also my husband also helps me a lot. A lot of the emails, my emails are actually answered by my husband, and he signs Diana Skoda. So, and my kids the same, so they have helped me a lot. We're a team, so we work together, and we do sports together too. So it's wonderful. It's fantastic to have the only thing that I regret is that I only have 4 kids. I would have liked to have 6, 8. You know, when I see those big families, I love that. I think it's fantastic. So yeah, it has been definitely a lot of help in my career.
I think for me, I work with children, so having 4 children of my own have made me understand, be more patient with them, be more understanding, understand where they're coming from, and also understand the parents of the children that I see and what they're going through. And it has helped me also with time management, you know, having 4 children. You also have to maneuver and you know, think for all these people, especially when they're little. So then multitasking becomes second nature. And I also have to agree with Diana that my kids help me with, you know, they review all my emails. they edit everything. And you know, I have my pick now. Today I'm gonna have Sophia check this email. Another time is my husband. Another time is, so it's great to have all these people watching over, because again, yes, English as a second language, sometimes it becomes a bit difficult to communicate in writing. So yeah, that has helped a lot.
I will say the time flies. I remember my kids having taken to kindergarten, middle school, high school, and they're all finished high school. So it felt then that it was a long days, but now looking back, it went so fast. So it's not that that this is, you know, lack of time, sleeping late, waking up early, and all these sacrifices are worth it, and they are so short in time. At that time, it feels like a lot of work, but as time goes by, you just did it. They just happen, and you have healthy, normal kids that are, you know, working towards becoming a good citizen of the world. So you are proud of your work and your sacrifices, and they just happen. My kids are gone from my home now. We are empty nesters, and I can't believe I raised my kids. So at the moment, it looks like a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice. But as time goes by, you see that it wasn't that bad. It was on the contrary. It was a very beautiful experience raising kids. I loved it. I wouldn't change it for the world to have raised my kids. I love it.
There's a couple more questions. This is an interesting question. What do you think are the most important things that you did yourself for your kids instead of another person? So instead of a nanny or babysitter, or are you absolutely recommending prioritizing for the growth and nurturing of your kids and / husband?
I mean, in my case, because I think every case is different. First, I would say what I have done, what I try to do the most for my kids and for everybody else too, is to love and to serve. So I think that that's what people, if I die tomorrow and they remember me, hopefully they will learn that that's the most important thing, to love and to serve. So your kids, they know that I'm always helping them. I'm always trying to do my best to make sure that they have what they need and working hard, being a good example, and trying hard and be resilient and always reframe. When something goes wrong, say, well, let's always look at the positive side. I try that the people that is with them also have the same mindset. It's not always the same. So I like to think that that's what they will get from me. I particularly remember I once signed for a sport event, and that was a very, very long event, and it took me 8 hours to finish. It was swimming for 8 hours, and when I finished that swim, that they all thought that it was going to be impossible. When I signed up, they say, "Mom, you cannot even swim a lap. How are you going to be swimming around the whole island for 8 hours?" I say, "Well, I can do it. It's just about that. If you decide that you're going to do it, you do it." So I did it. I still remember the face of my kids, the three of them, when I went out of the water. That face I wouldn't remember. And I said, "Well, Mommy, because everything that you try, when you say that you're going to do it, you try hard and try and try and try and you do it." And so I think that they know that from me, and I think that that's what I have done, and that's what they have learned at the more working area. I would say more less. It's not that deep, but yes, I think that they know that I do believe that life is hard. Life is not an easy thing. Life is hard, and you always need to think, how can you do better with that, and how can you keep swimming, keep pushing until you get to a better place. I think it's and that idea of to love and to serve, that's at the end what is important. That's it.
I would add also to forgive, because children do make a lot of things, that unexpected things that you don't think they could, and you have to. And I just think that's a lesson that sometimes it's hard for them to learn from other people, that we love them unconditionally, and that if they do something wrong, we're here to forgive and to start again and again and again, and as many times as they need. So so I think that that's something that my children remember, and that's it.
Victoria, do you have any specific things that you want to mention about what you've done?
Well, I'm hoping I set a good example. We'll see when they form their own homes and they have their kids, their partners. from what I've seen in my kids, I'm extremely proud of them. I see they're good, balanced kids. They're looking for their partners now. They're hopefully they will find the right one that will love them, support them, and consider them. So I'm proud. I know they are not perfect kids. They have their things, their personalities, the character, but they're very sweet, and they have always been sweet with me, which is really important. Of course, when they were teenagers, they want to go their ways, but they always come home. They always ask, "Mom, can you help me with this?" Or, "Mom, I had this issue," and that bond is very important to have with your kids. To be honest, I think honesty is very important. If you are honest with them, they will be honest with you. But again, it's hard. It's not easy. But maybe my husband always said, "I think you were born with a chip to be a mom, because what you do is not what I would have done." And I'm really happy that he sees me like this nature person, this person that is willing to love them, care for them, and also, we also I can also be tough with them when I have to tell them what is right from wrong. That's my job too. But again, forgive. I love that word. We learn to forgive them. I'm hoping they learn to forgive me too. I'm sure I have made some mistakes also. So those are very basic mom instincts that we have. And
I need to say that, and I'm sure that three of us we do it. We also teach science to our kids. I'm always talking about molecules.
Sometimes
so I'm always talking how molecules expand and contract, and how things become liquid and solids. I'm a chemical engineer after all. So I'm always creating comics out of the science stories. So I think that they get that from us.
Me and my kids, I'm telling them when we were driving, they were like 5 years old. I go 4 times 2, 5 times 7, and keep driving, and I'm doing the multiplication tables. That's our conversation, multiplication tables, when they're like 5 years old.
Yeah, I'm not very good at math, so I can't do that. Hey, I see that I'm seeing that we have the Q&A here. I hadn't seen the questions. There's a question about what is the best moment to have your kids, right?
Yes.
And I think that's important, right? So if we can jump on that one. Exactly. Anytime. And it's what I'm saying. Yes. People make things so complicated, like having a kid is, that's going to be all this work, and you're not going to be able to sleep, and you're not going to be able to work, and you're not going to be able to do anything. That's not true.
Anytime. I agree.
To have your friends, have your family, have your nanny if you have work, or you will find a way. You will find a way. But anytime, if you can have a kid when you are moving to China, you have another 3 kids, you can always have a kid.
Yes.
It's not that complicated.
I agree. Anytime. There's no.
I think it's fantastic when you learn from the kids, and how all the other problems become so small when you have kids. Immediately. Yeah. Even I loved, when I got married, I need to share this. I didn't love my mother-in-law that much. Let me put it that way. So our relationship wasn't that good until I had the first baby. When I had the first baby, I realized that she was so important. She was another mom, and then you start realizing that all the problems in your life before were not real problems. It was just small things. So everything totally gets a different dimension. Life is I think for me, in my case, my life became a lot easier the more kids I had.
The first one is the hardest.
Yeah, the first one. Then you become an expert with the ones that follow. That's true. I think since I'm become an empty nester, I becoming this advisor to all the young people that I meet on my way. When I see someone with the best, don't worry, it's gonna be just fine. You'll see. It comes natural to you. You'll see. Don't worry about it. I'm just like this, advisor for free person. Kids are fun. I think is the joy of your life to have kids. It's,
Yes.
it's incredible. I don't know. It's
I agree.
you don't trade.
see
I
that it's a
cannot trade
question.
it for anything. It's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, I see that there is a question on homeschooling. I actually, my daughter is homeschooled, my 9-year-old. So I have 3 kids in college, and one of them already graduated. The 4th one is homeschooled, and yes, it is very possible. Actually, it makes your life easier because you don't need to take her to school and pick it up and all of that. Homeschooling is fantastic. In my case, I was living in California, and I wasn't that happy with the school that originally she was going, so I put her in homeschool, and it's working way better. She's very responsible. So when you have kids that are responsible, they have a good example to follow at home, that see you working all day, they also work all day, and they know that when they're not working, they don't need to bother you. I mean, she's 9. I don't know if she were maybe 2 or 3, maybe it would be more difficult. Yes, but yes, when you obviously when you have smaller kids, it's probably difficult, but it is possible.
Yeah. Also, but it depends on the personality of the kids. There are kids that are work that it just works for them. It's easier. They learn faster. They learn what they are interested into. I'm pro homeschooling. If the kids, fits that system, is perfect.
There's an interesting question also that says, as you're all Hispanic, has it been important for your family to transmit your culture? And how difficult has it been to teach family values in a different culture?
Oh, poor my kids. They were forced to learn Spanish, speak Spanish, and write Spanish. I make them take twice their CCD classes, once in English and the second time in Spanish. If they know their oraciones in Spanish, they were not doing their first communion and so forth. So I did kind of force them to, but I think they enjoyed. I think they enjoyed them. And I did also try to keep the foods from my country. Maya and my husband, we try to every weekend we try to do something from our country and other countries. We try to teach our kids. So I'm hopeful they have learned from it. I don't know yet because they have been in college, and I'm assuming they are trying all type of foods with their friends also. And I know they will speak their Spanish with their friends. But I'm very proud to say that I think my daughter, she's very fluent in Spanish, and she used very hard words also. I'm sometimes surprised when she speaks Spanish. I go, oh my God, where did you learn that word? But they do. And I also told them that in order to communicate with their grandparents, they have to speak Spanish. So if you want to spend time with your grandparents, they don't speak English, so you have to speak Spanish, or at least you have to understand Spanish. And I think they trust me, and they did it. So I'm happy and they can do it. They thank God they have the ability to learn another language. I think everybody does if they want to, and they did. I'm happy for that. Yes. So it worked. It can work. It can work.
Yeah. Yeah. In my case, we would spend a few weeks of the summer always in Mexico, and I tried to speak Spanish with them. The grandparents would come and visit, so they were very embedded on the culture, and very open to it, and very it became part of their identity, and I'm happy that they're proud of that, and now going to college, they even appreciate it, and they appreciate it even more. So yeah, I mean, there's some things that I think are hard, transmitting some values, or for me it was hard to transmit some family values, or virtues and religion, but with trust, like Diana said, and put it in the hands of God, and prayer. Yeah, I mean, 2 steps forward, 1 back, but there we go. There we go, making progress.
Yep. Any other question?
I think there's one last question and then we can finish the panel. So the last question is, are there any just a simple top tricks that you discovered helped you manage your schedule and work-life balance? I think we've kind of touched upon these, but if there's anything kind of stand out that we still haven't talked about, anything more to add on that?
Yeah, in my case, I consciously decided the things that I'm not going to do.
Mm.
So I think that is important, especially when things could become more complicated. For example, when I signed up for this long event in swimming, in addition to my work, in addition to my 4 kids, I actually told my friends, well, in the next 3 months, you are not going to see me too much. So I'm not going to be watching any TV. I'm not going to be doing this. I'm not going to be going to parties and a lot of things because I'm going to be training. I'll be back. I said, I'll be back. So again, it's not a big deal. You know, you sometimes need to make some choices and some little sacrifices because you are achieving something else. So yes, I would say make sure that there are certain things that you are not going to do, and there are certain things that are going to be important for you. You know, yeah.
We have in Spanish the saying says, "El que madruga, Dios ayuda." Does that the worm that the chicken that wakes up eats a worm, something like that in the English version. My advice is take one day at a time. Plan your day early. I think that's the best thing you can do. Your day is just longer when you wake up early, and it is relaxing to see the sunrise, hear in my case, I have the birds on the trees, making their noises. It's a beautiful experience. Wake up early and plan your day ahead. That's my advice. One day at a time. So you don't have to think like, I'm going to manage the next 5 days. Just do that day and feel good about the day, and that works. That would be my advice for managing your time.
I totally agree with Victoria. There's a saying that says in Spanish that says la suerte se reparte a las 6 de la mañana.
Oh, I like it.
Luck is given at 6 a.m. in the morning. So if you plan your day early in the morning, it flows. And
I need to say that I'm not an early person at all. So yeah, but I'm not proud of that.
My husband would argue that too. He says that that luck is given at midnight. So it depends on how but planning ahead is important. That's the moral.
Thank you all so much for your wonderful advice. I'm currently a graduate student doing a doctorate right now, actually, in genomics, and I'm getting married in September. So I will definitely be taking a lot of your advice with me as I begin to start my own family. So I just want to thank you on behalf of SemXX Chats and all the attendees. I really had a wonderful time, and thank you all so much.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
I learned a lot from you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.